Classical Rebellion.
That's true.
That's true.
That's a fine line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cooperation and integrity.
Yeah. That's right. I think I'm in. Yeah, this should be good. Whatever. I don't need to be in there. You guys are.
You can CGI yourself.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So, Miro. How do you pronounce your quartet, or do you care?
I just remember the woman who yelled at us. You remember at that after concert? Who wants to say? Because we were saying it Miró.
Oh,
yeah, remember? And she came up and shaking her fist. She's Catalonian.
Yeah. And how'd she say it?
Catalan.
Is that what the root is?
So it should be Miro.
No, there's an accent on the.
Oh.
No, but she was yelling something.
She was like, it's Miro.
Yeah.
I think she might have been crazy, Cutler.
There's that reputation.
Cut that.
Yeah,
Might have to bleep that one.
yeah. So let's just go around the name
Daniel,
and instrument.
violin.
Will, violin.
John, viola.
And Josh, the cellist.
You're sitting. Is this the playing order?
No.
No, okay.
We're in score order.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Score order. Right.
Yeah.
Right. How do you usually arrange yourselves?
I sit over there.
Okay.
Josh and I
So
basically
you do first and second.
Yeah.
The old way, the old-fashioned way.
That's true. It's
Yeah.
the 19th century
Old
way.
way.
Yes.
You know.
Beethoven used to write specifically.
That's
correct.
Yeah.
People think it's new.
It's not new.
Avant-garde or
Yeah.
something. And,
It's erudite, that's for sure. You know what you're.
Yes.
Back to the beginning.
That's
Taking
right.
The circle.
It actually solves some problems that we had in the quartet too, just as far as like oral issues in the group, and that the seating seems to work really well.
It provides a really nice kind of stereo balance to the two violin parts,
Okay.
as opposed to sometimes the second violin kind of being occluded or far back behind the first violin.
Right.
Orally.
Orally, yeah. And then we, it's nice for the two of us because we're right beside each other.
Right.
Versus when you have to try and hear across,
Through the cello.
we have to actually up and change the way we play,
Right.
which makes things harder often for the voicing for
Yeah.
him, and clarity for you too, because then you have to balance differently.
Right.
So
Yeah. The listening thing is something I've really liked to explore. I've sang in over 60 operas with San Diego Opera. In the chorus, so there's listening in the chorus.
Oh, yeah.
There's listening in an orchestra, in a chamber group, and then there's listening as an audience member.
Right.
And how do you have a listening technique? Like, do you soften your focus? What is that even possible?
I mean, some of it's trial and error. We do a lot of rehearsing where we send people away from the group. Maybe the least important part at that moment, we send out into a hall to listen to how the balance is working, so we get a feel for what it sounds like. What we hear on stage is never what is projecting to the audience.
Right.
So some of it's feel, some of it's just kind of understanding how the parts project. It's different registers of each
I
instrument.
mean, I think we put a lot of emphasis on listening to everything except the tune. You know, I think a lot of ears go there, but I don't know. I don't.
I think that's what I meant by do you soften your focus, like instead of
we do, but I mean, I think we do pay special attention to inner mechanisms and things that normally an audience might not gravitate toward.
Okay.
We're hoping that actually brings out something for the listener, so they're not always listening to just the tune.
Well, and I would add that each one of us is always listening a little bit differently than the others because of where we are, what our role is, what our function is.
Right.
And so I might be focused more on Josh's part with a little bit of these, but John might be more focused on my part.
Okay.
A little bit of the others, and it really can fluctuate very, very quickly in some of the dynamics of the quartet.
Right. Because I've been speaking to some brass players, and they talk about the trumpeter who listens down and the trumpeter who makes everyone listen up. And they all prefer the trumpeter who listens down.
Right.
For tuning. And it sounds like it's not quite as clear-cut in a quartet.
Often in our rehearsals, we'll discuss different ways of listening or different parts of the four to sort of make the leader or the priority, not always the tune, and try different ways of sort of organizing or listening to the score. And that's something that we end up discovering a lot about the music that way. We certainly don't only do it one way all the time for every piece, and some parts, some different pieces benefit more from focus in different ways.
Right.
And sometimes actually we'll find that just making another part more important than we thought it was in another playthrough will change everything that was maybe difficult before.
And I would assume it changes a little bit each time you come back to a piece.
That's true.
Yeah.
We don't always do things. We play our pieces quite a lot. We'll tour something over the season and play it tens of times. And for us, discovering it new on stage every time is pretty great.
Right.
So some of our more interesting, at least for me, like experiences of listening come on stage in a concert when we're sort of letting go of what we rehearsed and are discovering a little something spontaneous, new, in the moment.
Yeah, and you can't plan that.
No.
Or think it. Like it's just it's an intuitive kind of
you can plan to be open to it.
There you go.
That's the kind of thing that if you're not comfortable with that, or all four of us aren't ready for that to happen and embrace it, then someone on stage could pull back or get scared or not engage.
The more organized we are in rehearsal, it allows us to be more free on stage.
Right. Yes, the discipline creates the freedom.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, the expressive freedom. And what you said about being open to it, I think resonates with me as an audience member, because I'll often go into a concert closed.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What about the pronunciation of
anything we can help? Pass you a glass of wine.
That's why we
Well, that is something that, I think we as a performing group are aware of the many things that we could do that encourage the audience to be closed off, or also on that flip side, the many things that we could do, whether it's speaking from stage or how we present ourselves or how we're dressing or
even programming.
Or programming.
We think a lot about programming in terms of how are we opening up this world for the audience and what kind of story are we bringing them through.
That's true.
All of those things factor into it.
Even sometimes people who really love classical music, I wouldn't say they're closed, but they show up to a performance with a really specific idea of what they're going to get. And actually, I think we sometimes have fun taking things that people expect will be a certain way and not necessarily doing it that way.
Right.
Performing a certain way, a certain piece, or certain combinations of pieces. That's fun for us, too.
Yeah. And so you've got an all Beethoven concert on Saturday the 9th.
Yeah.
It's right here.
Saturday 6th.
Saturday the 10th.
The 10th.
Apologies.
Today is the 6th.
At 8 p.m. with a 7 p.m. prelude, but it's not. You're not the prelude.
No.
So you've got an opener.
I don't know who it is, though.
I think it's the Callisto.
One of the young quartets.
Trio Clara performs Beethoven's Piano Trio in C minor. His favorite key, I believe. You've got a C minor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do have a C minor.
The only minor early quartet.
Right. So we've got a early, middle, late. That's, I assume, all the concerts follow. All the Beethoven
Beethoven concerts
are following that.
For this festival are doing that model.
Right. And do you know if this is preemptive 250th cycle? Are they going to finish the cycle next summer?
My understanding, yes,
so, yeah.
that there'll be 3 concerts this year and 3 concerts to finish the cycle next summer.
Right.
So we're getting the 250th kickoff.
Yeah, it's going to be good. And it's December 17th, 2020. It's a good. Got 18 months of Beethoven.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining.
He kind of deserves it.
He does.
We're playing the whole quartet cycle several times from now until December of 2020. There'll be a lot of Beethoven in our lives.
Right. And so you've got the first of the final? No. The final 6 are...
The Opus 135?
Yeah.
Actually, it's the last.
It's the last. Okay. I knew we had first and last in this
That's right. The Brentanos are playing 127 for their concert.
That's right. They're the night before.
On Friday. And we're playing 135 on our concert.
Right. So the final, Beethoven's final message from his silence.
Right.
It's the final complete work.
Yeah.
A lot of people talk about it's quite different than the other parts of the late quartets. And so a lot of people talk about if he had lived longer, was this the beginning of a new cycle or set? Because you have the earlies, the middles, and the lates. And this last one, Opus 135, is very different. In many ways, it reverts back to a lot of the earlier classical style he used, but with a lot of the late techniques that he had already developed. So, but we'll never know.
Yeah.
Never know.
And how do you approach Beethoven as a composer? Do you look at him just through the notes on the page? Do you bring biography into it? Or...
I think we really enjoy, to a certain extent, having a concept of who he was throughout his life.
Right. By the way, just the notes on the page.
Yeah, right. No, only the notes on the page. But I think that's important. His personality isn't in music, I think.
Yeah. I think we try to. I think all musicians who play Beethoven probably try to get insight a little bit into his head. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we can't imagine the life that he had, but we can kind of, he basically had this enormously wide range of emotions.
Yeah.
As a person and as a musician, so I think we try to tackle it from that because Beethoven can come off intellectual, but it's already there. So I think what we try to bring to it is the emotional message because people can connect with that.
Yeah, because he does have that Enlightenment era that he grew up in.
Yeah.
And Bonn was kind of a little island of enlightenment.
Right.
And but then he's considered a romantic. He starts the romantic era. But is it more the self-expression?
Self-expression, I think, is probably. I mean, I think that's what he's credited with.
Because the Ninth Symphony, that's straight Enlightenment principle, the fellowship of all.
The themes
it's also
of
self-expression.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, the ideas of the words maybe have a lot of enlightenment in them, but the fact that he was creating something for giant chorus, force, soloists, huge orchestra with bassoon, contrabassoon, and piccolo. It was like the biggest thing anyone had ever created. That's not enlightenment. That's out of like blowing the box open with
here.
Yeah, with emotion and drama and excitement. And people didn't. Yeah, exactly.
Beethoven.
It feels good.
Well, and the stories we have about him as a person, I mean, he flew off the handle on a daily basis, yelling and screaming. He could be happier and more manic and crazy than anybody else. And I think a lot of the music, and sense of humor too. It's all in his music.
Yeah, the sense of humor is. I think maybe a good example that a lot of people could connect to is the Fifth Symphony, the second movement. It's this kind of very beautiful, elegant phrase, and then there's this little tag on the end.
Right. A little something.
Which, though, is the opening rhythm that's throughout the whole whole thing. And it's just like I was like, okay, that's funny if you know what he's trying to do to the listener there. Like you said, you try to surprise people sometimes with the way
there's a lot of surprises in his music for sure.
Yeah.
And then some of them are rough and shocking, and some of them are surprisingly beautiful or surprisingly delicate or surprisingly graceful.
Yeah.
Well, and you can get in. I know the ones that surprise me the most often are when we're in the thick of things and the overall character has been one of more angst or stuff like that, and he'll put in these chord progressions where they can be the most beautiful major chord in the middle of that. And that for us can change the texture of the overall character of that, which then leads to some surprise because some quartets won't do that and some will, and that leads us to more in depth to our own interpretation of it. Which for me, I'm always like, wait, what was that chord? And then we'll actually slow it down or play just the chords, the progression that's happening, just to hear it. And I mean, it goes by so quickly when you're actually playing it that unless you have the time to really slow it down, you don't get to bring out those kinds of surprises and characters.
And do you play a lot of contemporary modern type music, or you stick more to the classics?
We balance it.
You balance it.
Okay. I mean, we like a lot of the music that's being written right now. I mean, we've got a bunch that we're doing this summer.
Yeah.
But I think, and also composers, there are a lot of great voices out right now that should be heard, and
it feels like taste is changing a little bit back to include melody.
Harmony.
For so long it's been rhythm, tone, color, and
abstraction.
And
a lot of abstraction.
And everyone seemed like not scared, but if I write a melody, I don't know. It's like I lose my edge. and it seems as if there's been a little bit of a shift starting back toward including melody in contemporary.
Yeah.
I know we're drawn to those composers in the pieces that we commission.
Ah, okay. So that's pretty engaged with.
Yeah, we commission a piece about every
year.
We try to do one a year. We play other new music as well, but the commissioning usually happens once a year.
Right.
Our concert on Sunday, following the Paul Beethoven concert, is going to be 2 living American female composers.
Right.
So we'll be playing a short string quartet by Caroline Shaw and then another short string quartet by Gabriella Smith. Both tuneful in some ways, but also very modern, and totally different from the Beethoven.
Right.
And I would say what's interesting about our commissioning, at least, and we haven't really talked about this recently, but our tendency is to look at composers recently who are bringing old with new.
Right.
So both of these pieces on Sunday are using folk melodies, but also very ancient themes and tunes and lines, and combining that with a new style of their own voice.
Right.
Now, another person we commission a lot from is Kevin Putz, who I would say actually his new piece for us is doing similar things. So there seems to be a little bit of a trend maybe there as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a vast and rich history just kind of sitting there.
Oh, yeah.
Waiting for anyone who wants, to access it.
That's right.
Interesting, you talked about the women composers that you're playing. We, on the podcast, which is separate from the printed interview,
Right.
my buddy and I just went on a rant about Amy Beach.
Oh, yes. What was the rant about?
Her 150th was 2017 or 2018.
Right.
I didn't hear a peep.
Right.
Yeah.
It's entirely.
I saw organizations with American composer mini festivals in the middle of their seasons.
Yeah.
In her 150th,
Right.
no piece,
Nothing
not even as an American.
Yeah.
And then it also coincided with, ironically enough, with the hashtag #MeToo movement started in that year.
Oh, yeah.
So it could have been a wonderful, relevant time for classical music organizations, but it was, I'm afraid, a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
But bringing the feminine, I don't know if feminine's the right word, it's the loud word, but bringing these voices out is, I find it fascinating because it is a different energy.
Absolutely. I mean, I was just ranting to someone recently that 2019, this year, is Clara Schumann's 200th anniversary.
Okay, did not know that.
Did not see,
I just read a
giant
Brahms
Clara
biography.
Schumann.
I have seen it more
We're playing
often
it.
this.
Well, we're playing it.
But the Schumann romances, Ben is playing here.
He's playing here.
Yeah.
She wrote these beautiful 3 romances for violin and piano.
Okay.
And I have seen more Clara Schumann this year than I have ever seen in my
The trio got
That's right.
performed
in Norfolk.
Right.
So, but it's a movement, and we all need to take responsibility for that and move it forward.
Well, and there's fantastic voices. I mean, that's the thing, is that already are, both today and 100 years, 200 years ago, there are great voices.
Yeah.
It's not really a need to unearth them or discover them.
Right.
It's just a need to actually bring them forward as often as we bring
If you just do
Beethoven
a
or
simple
Felix
Google
Mendelssohn.
search,
Right.
you'd be surprised at what you find over the centuries
Yeah.
that is quality music.
That's true.
Yeah.
It may be with Amy Beach. I mean, I love her music. It might just be that, I don't know, contemporary audiences don't find it edgy enough.
Yeah, that could
or, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's great and wonderful music.
Yeah.
I also think of Rebecca Clark, who's also a wonderful composer.
Sure, a great viola.
Wrote great pieces, but also she wrote some great orchestra
Such a big
pieces and lots of other works too. But people tend not to.
Right. Well, there's a
Play that.
branding that goes with it as well, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
That's true.
We're going to get Brahms' Second Symphony 4 or 5 times for every Vaughan Williams second or
Right.
Borodin second. Then those are fantastic symphonies.
Right.
But we're going to get Brahms. Yeah, so it's the Brahms second.
Right.
But it's like, I believe there is an audience development macro that has to happen so that we get away from those established composer brands a little bit.
Right. The name recognizability.
Yeah.
And,
Well, it's tricky as a programmer because different elements are causing you. I know for us, we book 2 to 3 years ahead.
Right.
So it's challenging to have, depending on the size of the organization or the different things that you're balancing, and to be able to pivot or to anticipate what is relevant and to maintain the integrity of your own voice and what you're building for your audience.
Right.
So we work a lot with presenters in discussing repertoire and trying to bring our voice and medium to that, but then also they have a whole multitude of things that they have to balance.
Right.
So I think I also have empathy.
That's true.
For all that they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, and it changes from city to city.
Yeah.
Right.
Some
That's
cities are more adventurous in their audience.
Yeah. Well, in each series, even inside of a city, I mean, I think about the different places we play in New York,
Yeah.
Right.
and the different audiences that each one of them have built, or even a city like Seattle, which has a few chamber music societies there. The Emerald City is very different than the Seattle Chamber Music Society, and then the University Series. Yeah.
Well, and audiences change over time. I mean, I think in an ideal world, a presenter and the groups they bring create a continuous experience over a season, 5 seasons, 10 seasons with their audience, hopefully creating people that feel ownership of what's happening on stage. And, for them to learn something about the music or feel closer to the music or expand their tastes over time. I mean, that takes investment on the part of the presenter and on the part of the audience to feel like it's worth it. But I think in the ideal world, that actually happens. That, you're getting to know this really complex genre with all kinds of different people in it and different musics in it.
It's literally eternal.
Yeah, it is. You never can be done with it.
Yeah.
Even if you're coming back to Beethoven, that you've heard this piece for the 10th time.
Right.
There's something in a different group's performance or the same group's performance 20 years later.
And whatever you had for breakfast as well, you're not the same.
It's true. Well, discovery, I mean, that's the word that we talked about earlier, and it comes back to that, like creating the constant feeling of discovery for the audience without making them feel like you're shocking them or they don't have anything to hold on to.
Alienating them.
Yeah.
So they're...
Yeah. So where did you all meet in one spot? Have you been kind of pieced together over time? What's the origin story here?
So the group started at Oberlin College.
Okay.
In 1995. Daniel and I were both students there, and originally the group was 4 Oberlin students.
Okay.
We played together for about a year or so, and did some competitions and did well. But 2 of the members at slightly different times decided they had aspirations that were away from Oberlin.
Okay.
So one of them wanted to go to Juilliard and study with Dorothea DeLay. One of them wanted to go to Curtis. And we were in a funny situation because we actually had some work. We had some concerts and we had the beginning, like the crumbs of a career.
Yeah.
So that's when John joined the group, about a year into it. So he's been in the group 24 years now.
Yeah, almost 24.
And the second violinist is Daniel's wife.
Okay.
So she played in the group for 16 years.
Oh, wow.
Until their children got of age that somebody needed to not be on the road all the time. And then Will's been with us now for 7 years, right? 8
years.
He has a very serious quartet resume.
Yeah.
2 other very well-known professional quartets he played in.
Right.
So,
yeah. And that's, 95, to have to work as a young quartet, that's, there's no SoundCloud. There's no YouTube.
Right.
There's no, put your stuff out there.
It was a different time back then.
Yeah.
It's just
you were hustling.
Word of mouth, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was, as any quartet career is in the early years, it was a real struggle. but it was, I mean, I think we all had we were all united in our love for the repertoire and our love for the medium and playing string quartets and trying to just play them at the highest level we possibly could.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all had the drive. I think we all had that feeling.
Sure.
Even though there were plenty of quartets already playing out there, that we had a voice that we wanted to be heard.
Right.
So, I mean, it was challenging. It was difficult, and there were times where things seemed to be going great, and times where like, oh my gosh, we're playing for how much?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Yeah. And how do you? I mean, that is a real thing. There's so many quartets out there, and maybe there's not as many as used to be. Like you could count on Tokyo String Quartet. Kind of everyone had heard of them.
Yeah,
Right.
Legacy.
Right.
yeah.
And that's kind of. I can name you the.
I do think that has changed a little bit. I think some of it is the recording industry and the kind of monolithic companies pressing records and CDs in the 60s, 70s, and 80s sort of created or were part of certain groups really being worldwide names because they had these groups invested in pushing their images and their music out there, which is great. And of course, that doesn't exist really now. It's more about creating. Most people are more self-published or self-recorded.
Most people,
in general now.
Yeah.
That opens up the doors to people doing all kinds of different things. There's a lot of different quartets now.
For decades, I mean, literally decades, there were only a few professional touring quartets.
That's true.
And they were the ones, the Juilliard, Cleveland Quartet, Tokyo Quartet, the Miro Quartet, Guarneri. They were the major quartets, and that was it.
Mm-hmm. And I think I can name the labels they were on even.
Yeah, that's true. They each were on their own label.
Yeah.
And I mean, what we did see as we made it through the 90s, and then lastly, the Tokyo Quartet retiring.
One of them will be here though. Clive Greensmith.
Is in the 90s we started to get more younger quartets and the ability to really craft a career. So the industry changed in that quartets were able to establish all sorts of different types of careers. And so I would say now we're actually in a different form of golden period of quartet because there's so many different. You ask about modern music. I mean, there are quartets like the Jack Quartet who only play modern music, which before, like, you had the Kronos establish that and the Arditi Quartet, and that was maybe about it. But now you have maybe 50 to 100 quartets making a living, supporting families, serving communities, and really establishing audiences, commissioning composers. So there's sort of a golden age of new music being created, and that's one idiom of the quartet world. And it'll be really curious and exciting to see how it all evolves. We also have quartets that really are solely engaged in the community, and they are serving and giving lessons and coachings and going into the public schools and playing concerts for the underserved community and really bringing those communities together. And that in itself is a full-time career, whereas that used to be something you did as part of your career. And so there's so many different avenues and abilities to craft the career that really suits your quartet. I'm curious in 20 years what the conversation will be. We deal with a lot of young quartets in trying to help them shape their career, and it's really fantastic to sort of identify what they want to do and then figure out how they can do that.
Yeah, there's no one really telling you no anymore. You know, the internet doesn't say no.
No, that's true. And the flip side is...
There's some bad stuff out there.
Sometimes the internet should say no.
The flip side is that if you're looking for someone to sort of make it happen for you, that doesn't really happen so much. It's not like this is okay, that's not, do what we want, we'll promote you. There's an opportunity to make anything happen as long as you're willing to make it happen yourself as a musician or an artist.
Right. And then that once you believe in your group, I guess it becomes
when you have artists, I mean, who make their career imprint on YouTube. And then they go out and tour on the road, and that, I mean, that's just a whole new business. I think it's amazing.
I have a question. An underrated string quartet composition that we should listen to.
Oh, wow.
That deserves more prestige. How's that? It could be...
I mean, I think of our love of Dvorak quartets, which don't get played a lot.
They're wonderful pieces.
Well, the American is...
Yeah, the Americans played a lot.
But some of the other ones...
The A-flat quartet does get played now.
A-flat.
G major.
Even the first quartet.
They're on the E-flat. That's beautiful.
Philip Glass.
There's a E flat.
They
There's
can play
an
it plenty.
It's played a lot, yeah.
I think the E flat Schubert quartet that we do
The early.
is a piece that doesn't get played very much.
And
It's
number 12 is
fabulous.
Deutsch 87.
The tunes are
that's early
incredible.
then.
That's
Yeah.
a lovely piece. Yeah. And totally different from late Schubert. I mean, it's totally different.
Prokofiev quartets. They
I've
don't
never
get
listened to
programmed
one.
at all, and we've always loved
And
those
we've played them
Yeah,
both,
that's
but
interesting.
yeah, they don't get programmed very often.
It's
Right.
funny.
Yeah.
We just played a movement of a Glier string quartet, Reinhold Glier, and we just programmed it on kind of a salon program that we're doing, and that was one that all the audience members were like, "Who is this guy? I like that piece.
Yeah.
This is really
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Why don't I know who this person is?" I'm
People
like,
really liked it.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, just not to even know the composer, not let alone the quartet, but
never heard of him.
not
Glier,
to
yeah.
know who Glier is
Yeah.
kind of surprising, actually.
But I don't know. I can't think of other like big pieces that they would have seen at the symphony or
No, he's not
opera
a.
by
Yeah,
him.
but he got his
But there's so much
Seasons,
music.
maybe.
I think so.
Yeah.
The two Janacek quartets.
Yeah, the young
That's right.
change.
Those are masterpieces.
Yeah, those are great pieces.
So that's an interesting question.
I mean, we could get into some like the weeds with
Right.
this and start talking
Sure.
about like
The Ligeti
you know
quartet.
Anton Rubinstein and
Oh,
you know,
right.
things
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
It's great.
our own sort of personal what sport? No.
Well,
Ariaga.
Oh, Ariaga wrote.
Ariaga.
That's true.
Do you know the composer Ariaga?
Ariaga.
Ariaga. A-R-R-I-A-G-A.
the Spanish Mozart.
The Spanish Mozart.
Spanish
He
Mozart.
died in his early 20s.
Yeah.
Only managed to get a couple of works out, but I think there are 3 quartets.
3 quartets,
that are-
really
and
good.
they're lovely.
I think his total output is like 10 pieces.
Wow.
They're
But
lovely
they
works,
right.
and they're interesting. And they do have this kind of Mozart style to them,
Yeah.
but they're different. They have a Spanish thing to
Sure.
So
them
there you go.
that
There's-
no
Right.
other composer of that period would have, and they're cool pieces.
The other one we love is Gina Stera.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's 3 quartets
Okay.
of his that we've often played that we love, but
Mhm.
they don't get played very often. Especially the
No.
third one doesn't get.
Yeah.
Well,
Doesn't get played very often.
it's with soprano, so that
Oh,
complicates
yeah.
matters a
That
little
does.
And it's abstract.
bit.
It's really out
It's very
there.
abstract.
And each of those
very
quartets
cool.
really defines part of his life. Like it's very
Oh,
3
right.
very different styles,
Huh.
and yeah,
They're great.
they're great.
And then we'll close with this one. I like this one a lot, and it's putting you on the spot a little bit. But you can have a do over. You can have a do over. So
I'm gonna go.
yeah, one word that currently describes your relationship to music, and why.
Grateful.
Grateful. Okay.
Yeah. For me, I think just currently I can see how much music has given myself in my own life, but also the impact of the lives that circle out from that, whether it's audiences or colleagues on stage or students, young quartets, listeners on the radio or readers in print. Just so grateful for what it has been able to really move in the world that I've been able to exist in.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Curious.
It was.
Curious.
Curious. I think because we're getting to that place in our career where we are playing Beethoven quartets for the umpteenth time, but the 4 of us just seem to find a way to kind of stay curious about the music, even though it's stuff that we've played, and then curious about the things that we haven't played, and
He stole mine.
Oh no.
oh,
That's exactly the word I was thinking too.
Okay.
For those very
Curious.
reasons.
Yeah. Right.
Right now, I it sounds kind of silly, but joy.
Absolutely.
that's terrible.
I just-
God.
How dare you have joy in your music?
But
Music making is not about joy.
joy,
at all.
no. Well, even
You need to practice more.
Well, it's suffering.
Suffering.
Well, we just
You haven't
rehearsed.
suffered enough.
We just rehearsed Beethoven 59 and a lot of it is kind of stressful and full of suffering. But there's a sort of joy in bringing that emotion out, which I enjoy making people in the audience suffer. As well as making them happy.
That's not where I thought you were going to go with it.
No.
At the end of that sentence, I enjoy making people suffer.
But but that's it's the maybe enjoyment too. The enjoyment of just making something happen emotionally. That's so much more, like you mentioned, as the notes on the page, or
Right.
what we're doing with the instruments. Is this experience that sort of takes people someplace totally else.
Right.
And I find that just very joyful and exciting.
So we've got grateful, curious, and joyful. And mean, it's like a Tony Robbins type thing, but it's what I'm particularly trying to get across to audiences is that these are the reasons. These are why music's great. It sounds cliche. I'm grateful. Oh, right. Are you? You know?
Right. Yeah.
But it's true. When it's true, it's true, and then it comes across. And I want the audience to not feel that distance from the performers.
Yeah.
But I think the trick for that is how you stir that in each of the listeners on their own. You can't go and tell them to be curious or tell them to be joyful about it. Right. Find the little trigger or the little hot point where the gratefulness or the curiosity comes out.
Right.
And that's where I think that's when we see audiences suddenly like they light up.
Right.
They start to kind of they find their own qualities inside those words. Their curiosities can be different than our curiosity.
Right.
They don't play instruments, but
they might look into who Claire was.
Right. Well, and I think what you're saying is so wonderful because each person in the audience could be curious about something totally different. What brings them joy in the music, the same performance, same music, can be totally different. And that's actually what I think is most amazing about this art is that really anyone can find themselves in it if you take the time to really listen. And we can reach anyone with it, whether they speak English or not, or speak German or not.
Yeah. Gender doesn't matter. Tchaikovsky lived under the czars. We don't know what that's like. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Sexuality doesn't matter. Socioeconomic status doesn't matter.
And we're not trying to make everyone feel the same and think the same and enjoy the same. It's actually allowing people to find themselves.
Yeah, this is probably the thing that still, at least for me, it still fascinates us about our relationship to who we're playing for. I mean, we're going to be going to a correctional facility.
That's right.
In the winter.
Right.
And there's something just cool about we're bringing a middle Beethoven to people that may have never even heard any Beethoven, let alone a string quartet playing Beethoven in front of them. And we have done this kind of work before, but that to me is always like the way you can touch people that way. And like you're saying, they each have their own story in the room. Some of the stories, brought them to unfortunate circumstances, but in that moment, in that hour, you're sharing something together, and none of us know each other or anything like that, and that's
and that could be one of the happy legacy effects of the monolithic recording industry being dissolved a little bit, is it becomes more about the live experience.
Yeah,
and I think with chamber music it always is, though. I don't think the recordings.
There's something. Recordings can be great, but there's something one-dimensional or two-dimensional about them.
It's flat.
Yeah, it is flat, and just be able to actually see us as we play, as well as hear us, and feel the energy. And we are playing for the people who are there. It's not like we're doing it for ourselves and blocking them out. Like they change how we feel the music in that moment. Everybody in the room with us.
There's no buzz in the room when you're watching YouTube.
No, that's for the buzz of your speaker.
That's true.
Air conditioning.
And your electric bill going up as you're watching videos.
There's a lot of people who have said to me over the years how much they dislike the Bartók quartets, which for us are solid core repertoire, amazing pieces, and then they'll come and see a Bartók quartet performed and they'll fall in love instantly because you can witness and experience it on your level of whatever you're curious or interested in, and all of a sudden that quartet comes to life. But you hear it on a recording, and depending on, again, your access points, you may or may not enjoy it. And it's hard to say that about Beethoven because he has such a brand and a legacy already. But Bartók, you would think, has that same thing. But the live experience, and I think chamber music has always been about that experience.
I think chamber music and opera are the two that are vastly different live.
Yes.
The symphonic, it's a little more homogeneous
in the middle.
But
just listening to an audio recording of an opera or even seeing a video of an opera on your screen, it's not the same as being in that space with a huge audience and seeing
and feeling the voice. Some voices are
Oh yeah.
so big
Right.
that you feel like it's coming out of you.
Right.
It's,
That's
it's
pretty
incredible.
connection.
It's true.
Yeah. So what's after this? And then we'll wrap it up.
We head up to a festival that we love, where we're the quartet in residence. It's called the Orcas Island Chamber Music Festival.
I know,
You know.
Aloysia.
Aloysia.
Oh,
Yeah,
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 right. Of course, because she's at me.
Yeah, so we'll be up there for a week, and then we'll head across the country again to Cape Cod, to the Cape Cod Chamber Music Festival,
Okay.
which is John Nakamatsu and
John Manassi.
John Manassi. They
Like clarinetist.
run a festival out there. So we'll finish up our summer season with a week out there.
Mm-hmm. And then do you get a break or?
A short one.
Short one.
We get a day. And then our university starts, the University of Texas.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay, so you're
School
resident.
starts.
I'm the
It
resident.
literally
Okay.
starts like
Right.
the day after we get back.
There you go.
2 days. Good.